impressed was the world with India's evacuation process in Yemen that other nations sent out communiques to their nationals to board Indian ships to get out of that country. India then took a humanitarian decision to not just evacuate its own citizens but also evacuate others too. In this circumstance, India went out of the way and helped not just us Indians but the entire world when they needed help the most. More so than any other nation, India took the lead in the rescue of foreigners trapped in Yemen, evacuating more than 1,000 foreigners from over 41 countries, including a dozen Americans and 3 Pakistanis. India won many friends in the process and proved to the entire world that when it came to large-scale evacuations, we are the best.
You see, the Indian Navy understood that this is more of a humanitarian relief, disaster relief, as HADR, that's what we call. And in such cases, it's very difficult to distinguish between nationals. But yes, Indians were our primary concern and a priority area. So while we were sensitive to the requirements of others, we had to ensure that our people are not left out. So it was a diplomatic effort, and we had to use it with certain amount of sensitivity and humane approach, and that was appreciated, and we managed. While when we gave them the confidence that we will help them all, and I think the order prevailed, and we were able to get it out.
The Chinese Navy evacuated hundreds of people from the war-torn country. Russia, Canada and France also conducted evacuations of their own, but none came close to the operation carried out by the Indian officials.
See, Indian Navy has got various roles. This is one of those tasks which we carry out, HADR. And in this task, while it's not a war, but it is not less than a war also. Because to get our people from foreign land onto our territory, you would know that an Indian ship in any waters is Indian territory. So it was the kind of comfort and the kind of security that Indian national would get to get on board is something which cannot be expressed. So our primary task and role was to ensure that people are brought home. The moment they come to our ship, they are home. So we get them home and we give them succor, make them feel comfortable. That was our primary task, and that was our role.
On a voyage to Minicoy, we were asked for a national emergency requirement. Immediately we altered course and we came here, and we were loaded, fueled, water, fresh water taken, and we proceeded for the evacuation of our Indian nationals in Yemen. It was an honor and it was a privilege, I would say.
While other countries shut their embassies and left hurriedly, the Indian embassy was left open. In fact, the US State Department told its citizens fleeing the fighting in Yemen to contact the government of India.
There has been a real sense of mounting criticism, though, that the United States hasn't been amongst those nations pulling out their nationals. The Council for American Islamic Relations specifically has been talking a lot about the concerns that why is this only in Yemen that the US isn't rushing to evacuate nationals. Late yesterday evening, though, the US Embassy finally released a statement saying that their nationals will now be evacuated through Indian planes, much like the one that we were on, that will be run through the International Organization of Migration.
The website of the US diplomatic mission in Yemen posted a message for American citizens looking to flee the country. The note read, "The Indian government has offered to assist US citizens who want to depart Yemen for Djibouti. This potentially includes flights out of Sana'a and ships from Aden. US citizens wishing to take advantage of this opportunity should contact First Secretary Raj Gopal at the Indian Embassy in Sana'a." The United States was among over 40 countries that sought India's assistance with evacuating endangered citizens from Yemen. The world heaped praises on India for carrying out a successful evacuation. Citizens of other nationalities who considered themselves lucky to be out of Yemen could not stop thanking the Indian government for their efforts.
Very appreciated of you, and very well treated and looked after, and I'd like to thank the Indian people for bringing us home. Thank you very much.
I absolutely can't say enough about the Indian government for helping us to get out of Yemen. Thank you very, very much.
There in Yemen it's very dangerous. Guns and bombs. We scared here. And my brother can't sleep.
We all want to thank them. They are very nice people, and everything was easy for me even though I am Yemeni. and the visa thing in the embassy, people there, everyone is working for the same purpose, for the same aim, only to help people.
The evacuation from Yemen also provided a rare chance for arch-rivals India and Pakistan to look beyond hostilities, as 11 Indians were evacuated by the Pakistani Navy and flown home, winning a vote of thanks from Prime Minister Narendra Modi. 3 Pakistanis also made it out on Indian transport. But the unsung heroes of the entire operation were the Indian Armed Forces personnel.
नेवी और शिप वालों ने हम सब की इतनी अच्छी सी खिदमत की है, यानी बस खाली इंडिया के लोगों की नहीं, हमारे इंडिया की भाईचारगी देख के हमारे आंखों में पानी आ गया। बस खाली इंडियन लोगों की जान नहीं बचा है, हमारे नेवी वालों ने और शिप वालों ने बांग्लादेशी और इंडोनेशियाई लोगों को भी लेके आए हमारे साथ।
The United States, in spite of a rather sizable military presence in the region, did not feel it fit to use any assets to rescue its citizens. Marie Harf, a spokesperson for the State Department, said, "Doing something like sending in military assets, even for an evacuation, could put US citizens' lives at greater risk." And the State Department's website stated, "There are no plans for a US government-coordinated evacuation of US citizens at this time." However, the Indian Armed Forces didn't care two hoots about their own safety and were there for us when we needed them the most. Not just that, they were also there for others when everyone else failed. India pulled out all its stops to make the operation a success. As Yemen was not accessible due to no-fly zone, India chose Djibouti as a center for initial evacuation by sea. INS Sumitra, an offshore patrol vessel which had been deployed for anti-piracy patrol in the Gulf of Aden since 11th March 2015, was the first to undertake evacuation from Yemen. The Indian Navy redeployed the ship off the port of Aden on the 30th of March and thereafter entered Aden harbour in the evening of 31st March. During the evacuation operations at Aden, the ship reported bombing and gunfire and a general disorder, pandemonium and unrest.
The onus came on the Navy to do the act, and that's how, as you saw, we had a series of evacuation exercises being done by 3 ships: INS Sumitra, INS Mumbai, and the INS Tarkash. And yes, each day was a new day, because initially, while the shelling was there, but largely our civilian people were not being affected or were not being targeted. But towards the end, we saw that the intensity of the strife increased, and even the ports were not very safe. The shellings could be heard by the crew. There was even danger of the ship being attacked, and so much so the last evacuation was carried out with ships anchored and boats being used.
In addition to INS Sumitra, the Navy dispatched destroyer INS Mumbai and frigate INS Tarkash from Mumbai on the evening of 30th March to escort 2 passenger vessels, MV Kavaratti and MV Corals, through the piracy-invested waters of the Gulf of Aden. These passenger vessels, which normally ply between Kochi and Lakshadweep, had sailed from Kochi on the 30th of March.
Left on 30th, and we were told to proceed to the port of Djibouti. We are there, and whatever the naval ships or aircrafts, passengers they bring, were supposed to be brought to India. When we reached there, we were also told to give shelter to most of the passengers who were supposed to fly the next day. So both MV Corals and Kavaratti were tasked to do that.
The voyage, we have not faced any difficulties, because we have escorted with the naval vessel. There was a naval vessel with us, and in addition to that, on board we are having 4 Indian naval commandos. Though the passage was through Yemen water, Yemen and Somalian water, we need not to worry anything, because we are well protected by the Indian naval vessel. So safely I could take all the passengers to India.
Meanwhile, the Indian Air Force deployed 2 C-17 Globemaster cargo aircraft with a capacity of carrying 600 passengers to Djibouti. In addition, two Airbus A320 aircraft of Air India were also deployed to Muscat in neighbouring Oman. When Air India was permitted to fly to Yemen on the 3rd of April 2015, it started evacuating people from Sana'a to Djibouti and Djibouti to Mumbai or Kochi. Over the days, more than 4,640 Indians were evacuated along with over 960 foreign nationals of more than 41 countries. INS Mumbai and INS Tarkash returned to Mumbai harbour on the 16th and 18th of April 2015 after completing Operation Rahat. MV Kavaratti and MV Corals arrived in Kochi on the 18th of April. Well, the MV Kavaratti has almost reached the BPT jetty in Cochin port, and you can see it just behind me. After embarking on a journey on Sunday on the 12th of April, it has finally reached the port of Cochin today on Saturday, which is the 18th of April. So it's almost been a week-long journey for these people who've been on board the Kavaratti, and this particular ship will now be pushed to the wharf itself by another tugboat that is present there beside it, which will eventually come here. There is also a Navy band which is present to give them a ceremonial welcome and welcome them to India and to the port of Kochi. MV Kavaratti and MV Corals left Indian waters on the 30th of March. They were escorted by two Indian Navy ships through dangerous waters. The government had to get special permission to use the vessels for the rescue operation since their license was limited to sail in Indian waters only. Even though the ships were in well-seasoned hands, this was an all-new experience for the crew. They had never been part of such a rescue effort, but they came through with flying colours.
They have probably sailed in foreign waters, but definitely not in these waters with this particular ship. So they have gone there on a mission, and they have done a successful mission, having boarded, embarked. How many passengers did you finally manage?
156. 156 plus 1 infant.
And safely boarding them and bringing them here.
Merchant vessel Kavaratti and merchant vessel Corals arrived in Kochi on 18th April. The ships had helped evacuate 475 passengers, including 73 Indians, 337 Bangladeshis and 65 Yemeni citizens of Indian origin. After enduring the trauma in Yemen, the evacuees were relieved to be back. And they received a ceremonial welcome that was given to them by the Navy band. The vessel that you can see behind me is MV Corals. This is the other ship, one of two ships that were used to bring the people who are stranded in Yemen back to India. It has about 318 people on board right now, and this particular ship will be pushed closer to the BPT jetty, from where the people will get down and then go into the immigration center and finish off the other formalities. They too are being given a ceremonial welcome by the Indian Navy band, which you can hear, of course, in the background. The people who returned on the merchant vessels Kavaratti and Corals were the last ones to arrive from Yemen. We were there when the ships arrived at the Kochi port. We'll now take you on board Kavaratti and show you what happened on the ship. I'm on board merchant vessel Kavaratti at the moment, and as you can see, there's hectic activity going on behind me. There's an immigration desk set up right here where all the Indians first have to give their passports, get through immigration, and then after getting through immigration, they are all seated here waiting for their exit passes. This is one group of Indians here. There are a few more that you can see there, and this entire area has been earmarked for this particular process where they are all just waiting for their formalities to be completed to get their exit passes and then to finally just move out of here. There are 27 Indians in total on the merchant vessel Kavaratti. The others are on the other vessel, a merchant vessel, Corals, of course, will be taking you on that ship as well. But this is the entire process that is taking place over here. While we were on board the ship, we caught up with the captain, K. Balakrishnan.
We are now in the wheelhouse or the bridge of the vessel MV Kavarati, the pride ship of the Lakshadweep administration. What you see here is the nerve center where all the controls, the steering, the engine controls are all available here, and it is from here the vessel is taken out, maneuvered, and we proceed to sea.
Once the expats passed through immigration, they were taken to a makeshift lounge that was created where they could rest and then proceed to their final destinations. Well, I'm standing beside the MV Corals at the moment, and as you can see behind me, all the Indians who have passed through immigration are now disembarking from the ships along with their luggage, and that's what's happening. As you can see behind me, there is a lot of media attention there as well, and after getting down from the ship, these people will then head out to an area that has been earmarked for them, where they will then get some assistance from the state government to ensure that they can go back to their respective places. There are tickets being arranged for those who have to go to far off places, because there are people from Tamil Nadu, from Rajasthan, from Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra and all over the country, whereas those who are in Kerala, about 16 of them are Keralites, though they will be given a taxi ride back home, and then they can go back there and have some kind of a relaxed time. Since there were very few people on board the Kavarati, all the formalities were completed quickly. We then decided to go on board the MV Corals, where 318 people were on board. I'm now going to enter MV Corals, which is the second ship that was used to evacuate the people from Yemen to India. Of course, the ship started sailing from Djibouti on Sunday, the 12th of April, and then took about 7 days to reach here. Of course, today is Saturday, and there are over 300 people on board the ship, and as you can see, there's a lot of luggage here. There are several people, as you can expect. The luggage too is a lot, and everybody is waiting their turn to clear immigration and to finish all the other processes and head out of here, after which there are several Bangladeshi citizens as well on this particular ship who will be evacuated by their government in two aircrafts that will be leaving later on tonight, and they have been kept aside so that they do not get mixed up with the other passengers, the other Indians and some Yemeni citizens as well who are on board this ship. And we also saw in the other ship there were several others present there. So as you can see, we are taking you on a tour inside MV Corals, one of the other ships. That is, the MV Kavarati was one, MV Corals is the other ship where people have been brought back from Yemen to the Indian shore. The Bangladeshis who were rescued by the Indian ships were welcomed by a delegation of the Bangladesh embassy. They were all given special tags and then flown back to their country in two aircrafts later that day. All in all, Operation Rahat was a grand success. From deploying to a conflict zone to coordinate the rescue, the government spared no efforts in evacuating Indians from Yemen as fighting raged between the Houthi rebels and the Yemen government, supported by aerial bombardment from the Saudi-led coalition. The efforts were so effective that they were praised worldwide. Here's a look at the serious numbers that were involved in the operation. Over 5,600 people were rescued from Yemen by the Indian government, out of which 4,640 were Indians. Apart from Indians, 960 foreigners were rescued from 41 different countries. Over 2,900 people were evacuated by air through 18 special flights out of Sana'a, and 1,670 people were rescued by sea from Aden, Al Hudaydah and Al Mukalla. Well, credit must be given where it is due, and the Indian government has done a fine job in bringing back the Indians stranded in Yemen. It was refreshing to see a hands-on approach used by the government and seeing General VK Singh lead from the front. We hope others too follow suit. That's all the time we have on this special report. We hope you enjoyed the show. See you again next time.